I'm Marissa, and then we have
I'm
Chris
Chris.
here, and then obviously our beautiful Kerri. So,
So we can start off with a simple question. This one's a bit tricky though. Your journey into ECE. Can you share with us how you got into being a Black educator in the early childhood field?
Oh my goodness, I should have looked at the questions.
All
Journey.
good.
Oh,
Be as natural as you want to respond.
well, here we go. We'll be on here for 2 hours, but I'll try to do my best. Journey into ECE. I think we would have started when my grandmother. So most of the students, you might have missed that, Chris. The my grandmother, Dr. Josephine Johnson, was a director and founder of the North Preston Child Care Center. So that is where my father's from, and I grew up in Germany and in North Preston as well. Didn't come to Canada until I was like, I think it was about 13, 14, because I'm an army brat. My father was in the forces, but my grandmother started the center. So I can remember being up in the center and knowing that, I love this. I love the way the teachers interacted with the children, and I enjoyed working with children. I loved babysitting. So I think that's where my journey actually started with my grandmother's influence. And from there, I worked at the East Preston, actually worked at the East Preston Child Care Center for, oh my goodness, I think about 11 years, 10, 11 years. That's where I got my foundation. I really enjoyed it there under the tutelage of Dr. Ross. So it's Dr. Ross was the director there then. And then once my child was 5 years old, and I told Dr. Ross, I said, once my youngest son, because all my children went to the center, turned 5, I'm going to leave. And she said, oh, no, you're not going to leave. You're going to be with us forever. And I said, no, I think I want to do something more. I said, I'm going to leave. I've been here for 11 years and I want to, broaden my expertise and go out into the world where you didn't see Black
Mm.
educators. You didn't see Black directors. So that was my goal. So that was my journey. I worked at East Preston, loved it. Staff, great. People were amazing. And then once my son was 5 years old, my youngest son, and he was off to school, then I couldn't watch over them in the center anymore. They were gone. Um, that's when I jaunted out. So that has been my journey. I've always loved working with children.
Love that.
I'd have to say, I feel like, same not, I don't, of course, have the legendary grandmother, but I feel like somehow relating to you, my mother, she was doing child and youth at Mount St. Vincent. And I felt almost as like me going to Mount St. Vincent before I went to NSCC. I felt like I was walking in her footsteps, and she was really a big influence for me starting off into ECE. Just knowing that
Yeah.
like I was doing the same thing that my
Yeah.
mother was doing.
Yeah, and it makes a difference. I mean, you're watching your grandmother and you're listening to her talk about children, and you're walking into the center. And I know sometimes when I was younger and I would be there, I would stay at, have nap time and lunch at the North Preston Center. So it was great. It was a good experience. And we come from a long line of our family of educators, principals, and whatnot. So I think education was just in the background, just in the genes.
For me, it was a bit different. So growing up, um, we were 6 siblings in total,
Oh,
but I
wow.
spent a good chunk of my childhood raising the 4 younger ones,
Hmm.
and just like babysitting, helping with homework up until grade 10 for myself, and then we immigrated over here. But while my time in South Africa, I got to spend a lot of time with my grandmother's sisters, who were both teachers at local schools. So that's for me where education just kind of became simple, helping people learn, even if it was things I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a good chunk of times where I had to learn Xhosa and Afrikaans because my own Xhosa and Afrikaans skills were not that good, but my siblings' teachers gave them extra work. So eventually, the education system kind of just became like a second nature, just kind of got used to it.
Oh, great. I'm sure that the both of you can tell me many stories, and I love hearing about students' journeys and how they got to where they are now.
All right, so the next question, and I feel like we can go for a while on this one, but why do you think the representation of Black educators is important in the early childhood setting?
Oh boy. Ha!
There we go.
Representation. Yes. What was the question again? Why is it important in the
Yep. In the
Why is it
early
important?
childhood setting.
Oh, representation is key. It's key for the students, like yourselves. Um, and for our little learners. I mean, children they gravitate to those who look like themselves. Just like adults, we do the same thing. We gravitate towards folks that, have the same values as us and um, that who look like us. And I believe that having that representation creates that space of comfort. It creates that space of safety as well. And you want to be in an environment that feels safe. I'm a huge advocate for representation in schools, childcare centers. Um, the Department of Education needs more. This is being recorded, great, so everybody knows that I always say it. Put more Black folk in the Department of Education, and also as early childhood facilitators. So the individuals that are teaching our Nova Scotia curriculum framework as well. Yeah. Representation is key. That was your question.
It is. It is.
That is
For sure, everyone gravitates to people that
definitely.
look comfort, safety. It's just
And
very
I
key.
will say now, I don't know if you noticed also in placement, but now that Nova Scotia is starting to boom, more representation and more diversity is key in all these settings with daycares and pre-primaries because we have more and more students of different cultures coming in.
We do.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. So our next question we have for you is, what strategies can ECEs use to create inclusive environments for Black children and families?
Oh, there's many strategies you could use. Just to think of some to create environments that reflect the Black community, the communities that you're in. Even if you're not in those communities, I always advocate to say you don't have to be in that Black community in order to bring that environment in. So again, creating a space, celebrating Black culture, parents as partners. Now, I always say that is bringing your families in. So maybe you have a parent that does basket weaving or drumming, bring them in. And please, it does not have to be during Black Heritage Month in the month of February. We need to do that all of the time. Bring your families in, ask questions. And on the administrative side, intentional hiring. Folks will always hear me say that. Intentional hiring means what? Know who you're hiring. Hire more Black ECEs. Be intentional about it. If you have a few children that are, Black within the center, and we want that representation, hire Black ECEs.
I feel like throughout placement, I don't have much of an experience quite yet working in early child care education besides our placements.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like just having the experience of bringing in families, like that's not only so enriching for the kids, but for you as the educator.
That's true.
Because I mean, like the kids aren't the only people learning.
Exactly.
Like, that's
Yeah.
just
And I know even within our programs, our cook, the cooks are involved. Any new families that come in, because very diverse centers, our cook will stop our new families at the door and ask for recipes and have that family come in and provide the recipes and learn from those families to provide that recipe, to bring that culture, to bring those foods into the center. So it's working with the families, getting to know your families. Where are they from? What can they offer?
great.
And that enriches the program.
Definitely.
Mhm.
For our next question, and this one's going to be interesting. What changes do you believe are needed in the ECE system to better support Black educators and children?
Again, representation. I will say that all the time. Representation is needed. It's needed in the Department of Education. This is where we're developing the policies. This is where we're developing the curricula. So we need to make sure that representation is there. Our voices need to be heard. More Black ECEs as directors in management roles within the field.
Definitely.
This, we're all going to, myself and Trina and Stella, we're all going to get old. Well, we're getting old. And we're going to retire. And Aunt Betty, well, she's my aunt, Betty, you in North Preston, director. Yeah, we need to have more representation in these areas and funding support for
Yes.
sure. Bursaries.
For the next question, you probably have a lot of information for this one, but what advice would you give to Black students entering the ECE profession?
Advice. Entering the ECE profession?
Mm-hmm.
I would say don't lose sight of who you are and where you've come from, because those are your experiences. Make sure your voices are heard. Okay, they don't have to be loud. Make sure they're heard, and be professional. Keep professional at all times, and be the person that makes a difference. We always talk about changes and making a difference. We can talk about it, or we can do it, and it doesn't have to be huge. You start small, and make those little changes that you think that are needed. That would be my advice. Again, don't lose sight of who you are and where you've come from. Stay true to yourself.
It's very heartwarming advice. Like, I feel like I'm talking to my mother right now, who's like motivating.
Glad we
No,
have
you
this
still
example.
have to be you.
And then we have one final question for you, and then we can let you go. Just if you could share one message with all educators about supporting Black children and families, what would it be?
A message to support, what was that?
To support Black families and children, a message for educators on supporting Black, or maybe just a message for Black educators.
When I think about that, I think of the word, and sometimes it can be controversial, allyship. Allyship in the workplace. I do speak about allyship with my team. We all do not fit into one box. We're all unique individuals with lived experiences and stories to tell, and voices to be heard. Again, so I think that would be the message. Educate yourself on being an ally.
Yep.
And this is for ECEs, if I was speaking to ECEs that non-Black ECEs, this is my message would be to them. Educate yourself. We're always doing the educating, educate yourself. Look into what it means to be an ally.
Absolutely. I love that.
And I think those were the last questions.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
all we
wow.
had for you.
What? Oh, that's
Mhm.
great.
Nice and
I didn't even
fast.
have to look at the questions. That was great. I'm glad. They were
You did
pretty
great.
easy questions. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time for sure.
Well,
And thank you very much.
appreciate
It's been great.
yours.